Well, in this video, you're going to learn about the Enneagram Type 1 called the Principled Reformer. Now, Type 1s are conscientious. They're sensible, ethical, responsible, idealistic, serious, self-disciplined, and orderly. They feel personally obligated to improve themselves and the world around them. Internally, Type 1s struggle with the belief that they are worthy or good enough because they have this inner critic that is constantly accusing and berating them. Now, to silence this berating inner critic, they are tough on themselves, striving to always do the right thing and to never make mistakes, which is an exhausting and impossible task, right? Now remember, everything hinges on the 4 core motivations. Now the Type 1's core fear is being bad, evil, corruptible, and wrong. Now the Type 1 desires to have integrity, to be good, ethical, moral, and right. But their core weakness is resentment. And this is where they're repressing anger because anger to them is bad and evil and wrong. So they're repressing the anger, but it leads to continual frustration and dissatisfaction with themselves, others, and the world for not being perfect. Now, Type 1s, they're not out there walking into a room looking for imperfections. That's not them at all. In fact, their inner critic is the one that is leaping at them with all the imperfections and assaulting them, which is really frustrating. They feel like, why isn't anyone else seeing this? Why doesn't anyone else do the right thing? Am I the only adult around here? So resentment builds up because they feel like it's all on them to fix things, to help the inner critic to calm down. Well, their core longing is to hear you are good. So an overview of the Type 1 is that they are very understanding and responsible people. They are always striving to do what is right. And they walk through life focused on how things should be and how to improve everything, including themselves and others. But the world is imperfect, right? So they are frustrated by seeing everything that is wrong and feeling assaulted by their inner critic who tells them to fix it right now. And so they appease the oppression of the inner critic that is put on them, and they are trying to correct all of life's errors, which is exhausting, and it leaves them overwhelmed and burdened with this constant dissatisfaction. They feel that they are always having to improve things. There's never an end. The list never stops. But often what you're going to find is that ones don't acknowledge their frustration and anger because, remember, like I said earlier, to them, that would be bad and wrong. Now, because their core longing is to be seen as good, they wrestle inside between their internal resentment and wanting to do good. They're very frustrated because they cannot control life. They can't fix everything the way it should be. So let's talk about Type 1s and what they're like in their relationships. Now, Type 1s take their relationships and their relational duties very seriously. They are firmly committed and willing to sacrifice for the people that they love. And as with other areas of life, Type 1s are idealistic and hold high standards for their relationships. They need to have a partner that is based on shared values and beliefs. Now, that can be difficult because not everyone is going to see the world the way the Type 1 does, right? No person or relationship can be perfect, but the Type 1 is going to struggle because they can't imagine what perfection could and would look like in their relationships. Now, an unhealthy one will become self-controlling, perfectionistic, and critical of others. Their relationships will struggle when others experience their helpful advice, but it lands on them as criticism or judgment. And it can feel very overwhelming, this demand of perfectionism. No one wants to hear that they must be perfect or what they're doing is wrong, right? But most ones, most of the time, their heart is genuine with advice that they think is helping, but it can land on others as judgment. Now, for the Type 1, when they become aware of their inner world, they can learn to let go of these extreme high and unrealistic standards that are holding on to them and to others. Their principled and purposeful nature can come out more gently and kindly and actually be very helpful. We want this wisdom that the Type 1s have because at their best, they are gracious, tender, soft, and they bestow such great insights for all of us to have. In fact, let me share with you some of the best traits of a Type 1 when they're at their best. Type 1s show wisdom, balance, kindness, and respect. They find the most compassionate ways to approach any action, and they display nobility, peace, and gracious empathy. They serve the world and others with patience and integrity. They stop striving for perfection to gain love and acceptance and live life as it is while still trying to perform and make things better. You'll also find that the Type 1s, when they're at their healthiest, they actually schedule periods of rest so that they can recharge, that they're not constantly always going and building up that resentment. They realize that life can't be perfect, and they bestow compassion and empathy and kindness to themselves and to others, which exudes a lot of joy. Well, I hope you enjoyed this introduction into the Type 1s. And as I mentioned in the previous video, the Enneagram is like an onion. There are so many layers, so many aha moments that you can experience in understanding a Type 1. Now, for you, if you're a Type 1, we represent it as a blue dot on our symbol, or think of it as blue lenses you see the world through and interpret and react to it. And if you'd like to know more about the Type 1, then check out our 2 courses, one on exploring you, and the other is our Enneagram internal profile for Type 1s. You can find those videos here to help you to better understand your internal world so that you can really grow and understand yourself and others with compassion and kindness. I hope this was helpful for you to learn about Type 1s.